So, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you all join us in our first event today. The DSC Outreach Team looks forward to welcoming people from different faculties to join us in tech. So, today we have speakers from 4 different faculties to join us to be speaking about themselves, about their experience, how they joined tech, and what they love about tech. So, to begin with, we have our first speaker, Aras, who's in 4th year of automation. So, Aras, would you please start speaking?
Yep. Hey everyone. As the team mentioned, my name is Aras. I've been around McMaster for a long time. Definitely, maybe overstayed my welcome just by a bit, but yeah, like throughout the years, what I've been doing is I've been involved as you can see in different parts of campus with different types of involvements. My kind of like intro to tech in university was I started just seeing that really encouraged me to join some of the McMaster teams and clubs. So I straight up found that there are teams where you can build cars. So there was the McMaster Solar Car team and the MacVT team. So I kind of just started off with there. And again, when I was starting off, I didn't know anything about car electronics or like car mechanics and how they work. But I guess kind of like over time you learn, and then just seeing upper years kind of do stuff, you follow in their steps. And kind of like from first year, I've kind of really transitioned into a lot of different roles. Most of my roles have been leadership roles rather than technical roles. I am a first robotics mentor for FRC. I help my high school out with building a robot. So that's one that kind of like includes both skills at once. Like you need to be technical as well as have a bit of leadership. And then most recently, I was a BTech rep for the MES, the Engineering Society. And this year, I am the CRO for the MES Society, which means I'm the chair of the meeting. And I guess kind of like in tech, what I found that after doing, oh, sorry, before I forget, I also did a 12-month co-op in the Makerspace, which is located in the basement of Toad. Makerspace is an amazing place. If you guys haven't heard about it, there's a sewing machine and a PCB mill, which is all provided to you by McMaster Libraries. And you can go in there and make some cool stuff whenever you want. So I did that last year as well. So I guess kind of like going off of like all these points is that getting started into tech, it's don't be scared. Just jump in basics from that, and then climb up the ladder in a sense. And you will be surprised like by what you went in expecting something, you can really learn something on the side, and it might become that the thing you learned on the side became like your main thing after like doing it a couple of years. So yeah, and always keep learning because even as of right now, I can say that like this is kind of like my roles as of right now, but I'm transitioning into something else. I'm trying to get into UX design. Don't tell anyone. I've done nothing for it yet, but it's a goal. And yeah, that's most about me.
That's amazing, Aras. That's nice to know. So, I was just curious. I had a few questions from you. So, I was thinking that you have been in a lot of leadership roles, as you mentioned. So, how do you balance these leadership positions as well as your academics at the same time? What would you say?
Yeah, I guess having a good balance is honestly key. So for me, how it turned out was so back in like my first 2 years of university, I commuted from Mississauga to McMaster, and then I kind of found out that if your classes are in the morning, your classes end at 4, and then everything like every extracurricular happens after 4. So that was kind of like a fun part where I was like, okay, I can do class, get done with it, do all my extracurriculars, and then just catch the last bus home. And even in that, right? I guess, yeah. So there's kind of like this very fine line in your head where you're like, this is when I stop my classes, that this is where I start my extracurriculars. And then once you're in both of those areas, you only focus on that. Like you can't be in class thinking of, oh, I have to like try to figure out how to do this, how to reach out to the sponsor, right? When you're in a specific thing, do that thing to the fullest, to your best of your ability, and then switch over when you have to start the other thing. I guess, yeah, just having that mindset really helps you, and then you just don't even worry about the time.
You also received the Future Leaders Award, right? So how did that happen? So what was that based on?
Yeah, right. So basically, after my co-op, there was there was this thing for McMaster Engineering Co-op where they had an award for student of the co-op student of the year, and my boss was like, "You should really apply for this." I was like, "Okay." Apparently, it turned out I didn't have to apply for it. My boss had to write up a lot of stuff for me, so she wrote it up and sent it in. And then after my boss told me, it's like I did this because you have introduced a lot of new things that weren't in your role before. So in my co-op, my whole kind of most of my job was run the makerspace and just make sure like there's safety procedures, train people. But what I did was I kind of reached out to other faculties and then reached out to staff members. So I made Makerspace not a place for just students, but also staff members and like profs as well. So we had a whole arts class run by Soda Arts. They ran this professor came up to me and then we talked about it, and he ran like parts of his class in the makerspace. So basically, it transitioned from a student space. Basically, it became a space not only for students but also for faculty members who might not be in tech already, for them to learn new skills that have come up, like 3D printing.
Okay.
And then
So
based
in
on that, my boss was like, yes, yeah, based on that, like my boss was like, here you go. And then I guess like for that award, if you know, Ariba won the co-op student of the year last year, and then I got the um, future leader award.
Okay, that's awesome. So we had this question in the chat. How did you get into the Makerspace Co-op position? Like, how did you apply for it? What was the process?
Yeah, so that's a funny one. So essentially, this job posting was on Oscar Plus. If you guys know Oscar Plus, it is the website that we use to apply for jobs. A lot of people say don't use Oscar Plus because it doesn't really work, but I found it that it works. And what I did was in my application, like on my resume, I have a link to my online portfolio, which is kind of like a website where I put all my electronics projects. And after I kind of got hired, my boss told me, they were like, we hired you because you had all those extra projects that you did on the side. Because the HR manager was like really straight up with me. They're like, we see every single resume with the same skills, but we don't know how well they know those skills. While you had this link to your projects where we can see exactly what you did with that project and how you built it and the final result. And they wanted someone who had that hands-on experience.
Thank you, Raz. That was so awesome. I mean, people like you are really inspiration. Okay, so up next, we have our next speaker, who's Loxy, who's in third year student pursuing a career in healthcare, but she has self-taught herself UI UX designer and has won several awards for this position. So I would like to welcome Loxy to speak right now.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay, I was having some connectivity issues, so I wasn't sure, but totally like I guess I totally recommend going to Makerspace if the university does reopen. It is definitely a great way to get your hands on learning 3D printing, just as a side note to Ross. But so my name is Longshi, and I'm a third year health science student. So I think that my career in UI UX kind of came out of nowhere, as in I had gone to high school doing a lot of art and a lot of graphic design. And in that process, I had learned and gotten some really solid graphic design skills. So I kind of was able to freelance. And with that, I was able to transition from making flat designs into web layouts and then finally into making apps. So given that, I guess I recently entered a competition, a national competition, and then was a semifinalist. And my mentor actually, who is working at RBC, recently decided to found his own startup company, which is where I currently work as a UI UX designer. But on the side, always involved with friends and I guess like-minded peers who have ideas, because I'm usually the person who transforms those ideas into reality and prototypes. And I think that, I guess for me, entering into tech, sorry, I'm also just keeping an eye on time. I'm not sure how much time we have, but I guess entering into tech really went through a different route than I think Aras had spoken about. I was not really interested in pursuing tech. I was just good at art, and that's what was my gateway into tech. I guess on the side, I am still definitely a lot more interested in biology and life science related things, as in I currently work at an volunteer at an immunology lab for one of my project courses. And as well as I'm always down to, I guess, participate in education oriented programs as well. And I think that sums up my talk, and I think I'd love to spend the rest of the time answering any questions.
That's amazing, Lakshmi. It's such an inspiration. I mean, the way coming out from a non-tech background and joining tech. So how did this thought just come about, like starting tech?
Honestly, it was because I'm a very social person, and I think all of my friends, like we were all in the same class, but then we all graduated and went into different university programs. Most of them went into engineering. And a huge part of university culture is definitely attending hackathons. All of them knew how to code and I didn't. So what could I do to assist them to kind of almost also participate? I started using a lot of design. I did a lot of design, and then that's how I got, I guess, introduced into UI. And then I am now formally more introduced into UI UX, I guess.
Oh, that's nice. What about balancing academics? Like, when do you find time to do tech, and what about academics? Because it's completely different.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. Like anyone with side project experience knows that it's like you have to be really passionate about it, because I think at the end of the day, there's no time in your day to be able to balance academics in order to get the grades you need for graduate school, but also launch a business and run a business. And I think what ends up happening is you just have to, like, I procrastinate and I go and I do stuff I need to do for my company. Like, you just have to be so passionate about it. That's what you do in your free time. And instead of watching Netflix, I go on XD or Figma and I just design screens. And I think that's a sacrifice you have to make, but you have to just truly love what you do.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's actually pretty true, because everything comes after a lot of different sacrifices itself. So any suggestions that you would give to students who are planning to start tech?
I think that look into the field, and I think just do enough research. I guess I can't say enough about how there's a lot of lower, I guess, barriers of entry options. Like, you don't have to, if you're starting into, I guess, UI UX design, there's Sketch, which is $100 for each software license. But then there's also free software options like XD or Figma. And I think, like, look at the resources available and don't be intimidated by it. I think that's my first tip. And my second tip is definitely learn with friends. Like, that's, I think the most fun is trying a new skill or a new hobby with a group of people. And who knows, maybe you can like start a project or a company off of it. And maybe, like Aras said, that was your side project, but now became your career. And I think there's always that kind of possibility.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and it's so amazing to learn about you. You guys are definitely inspiration for many other students. We have our third speaker, who's a medical student. Yes, absolutely, medical student. So he has done a lot of 3D designs, 3D printing, and video speaker. So I would like to welcome Yusuf to speak about himself.
Hi, can you guys see and hear me all right? I'm on my phone right now, so I hope it's working.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, hi everyone. My name's Yusuf. I am currently a second-year medical student here at McMaster. For my undergraduate, I did biology, physiology, life sciences. Started undergrad in 2016. So I guess a little bit. So I'm here to talk to you guys today about my journey with tech, how I got into tech, and kind of the impact it's had on my career and stuff. So I guess my journey with tech began when I was 12. I remember I was sitting on the computer playing video games, and my dad came up to me and said, "Yusuf, if you're gonna play, at least benefit from what you're playing with." So he opened up Google Sketchup and said, "Here, there's this new thing called Google Sketchup. Play around with it." So it's basically an architecture 3D design program, very simple. And I played around with it and I liked it. And within like a month or two, I was kind of, designing houses, making like replicas of like buildings and stuff. So it's something that I very much enjoyed and liked. My family moved a couple months after that. So I kind of had a bit of a hiatus until high school when I got into my tech class and he said, "We're gonna do animation for this semester's project." So he started us up on a program called Bryce by Daz 3D. It's basically a 3D program for artists. And personally, I found it fascinating. You can click and suddenly you have a mountain. You can change parameters to make it look how you want it to look and make materials. And it was really cool. And over the course of the semester, I made a 3 to 4 minute animation. Sadly, it wasn't compatible with my computer. And even more importantly, for a high schooler, it cost money. So I wasn't able to keep up kind of with the program, but I really did enjoy it. Fast forward to university. I started at Mac undergrad in 2016, finished my first year, so now the summer of 2017, and I met a person who might be on this panel by the name of Aras. And he told me, "Hey, you enjoy 3D? There's this program that is free called Blender." So I said, "Okay, I'll try it out." So I opened it up. I tried clicking on the cube in the center of the screen and it wouldn't click. Said, "Okay, this is a dumb program, not ever touching it again." But then when I was studying for my organic chemistry midterm that semester, I was like, you know what? I'm bored. I'd rather deal with that 3D program than do Orgo. So I love free software, yeah. So I was like, I'd rather do 3D software than Orgo. So I opened up Blender and I followed a tutorial. And by the end of the day, I came up with an animation. It was very simple, but I did something. So I said, okay, I can make progress with this. So I followed a tutorial and then did my own project using the skills I learned from that tutorial. And then another tutorial, and then another one, and then another one. Fast forward a year, and I was doing so many things with that program. I was modeling objects. I was making photorealistic textures for rendering. I was doing fluid, hard surface, cloth physics simulations, motion tracking to insert 3D objects into videos. I was designing characters and so much. That's just from doing it as a hobby. I'm not working intensely on it. Just whenever I have free time, I enjoy it. So I work on it. And like, for me, it's something that I loved and I still love doing. I remember talking to my dad, kind of like 2018-ish, and I told him about my hobbies, and he said, "Wow, it's really cool. You should put this on your resume." At the time, I thought, well, it's just a hobby. Why should I put it on my resume? He said, "No, you should do it." I said, "Okay, cool." So I put it on my resume, and I showed it to my professor, a professor that I was volunteering in his lab, doing like grunt work, filling up pet boxes, autoclaving, LB broth, stuff like that. I showed it to him and he said, "This is a really good resume." I said, what's good about it? He said, "I really like this animation 3D design stuff that you have on it. This is not a skill that many life sci biology students have. So it's very valuable in this field." I said, "Okay, that's interesting." A couple months later, he said, "Yusuf, in your third year, I want you to do an independent research project with me. And then if it goes well, then I want you to do your thesis with me in your fourth year." And when I asked around, the reason he wanted me was because of my 3D design skills and my skills with 3D programs. So in my third year, I ended up being paired to collaborate with a materials engineering professor to design a device using a process called photolithography to make a device called a microfluidic mother machine. Basically what it is a little chip, like barely this size, made of pipes, or that contains pipes that are barely 1 or 2 micrometers wide. And using this device, we could observe individual bacteria. We can look at a single bacteria over the course of 200 to 300 generations, observe things using fluorescence, microscopy, and whatnot to track it over many generations, something that you can't do with, just a normal Petri dish. For that project, I learned AutoCAD, or at least the basics of it, and I was paired with a PhD student in engineering, and together we designed this device. Sadly, it didn't pan out because of funding issues, so we weren't able to make the final product. But still, what this taught me was that no matter what interests you have, even if it's just a hobby, or, oh, no one's gonna, care about what I'm doing, you'll find that it can have a massive, massive, massive impact on the trajectory of your career in undergraduate and beyond. After finishing this project, I was set to do a 4th-year thesis, but that got cut short and it didn't go through because I ended up getting accepted to medical school. And now that I'm in medical school, I was able to get a number of positions because of the skills that I have. Since high school, on top of 3D design, I learned video editing, like using Final Cut Pro 10. So I kind of got good at that as well. And using those skills, I was able to become the vice president for marketing of an up-and-coming medical student organization. On top of that, I have a couple projects lined up using 3D that focus on 3D design and 3D printing, which my friend Aras also got me interested in. So I guess what I want to say here, and this is also aimed kind of at the life sci med keeners as well. Don't think that just because you have a skill that's not directly related to your field, that it's not a valid skill to hone and possess. On the contrary, if you have something that you're interested in, take your spare time to, hone that skill, and you'll find that it can have lots of returns for the future, especially if it's related to technology. I can speak for the biology and medical fields. Technology is becoming more and more important every day. So being able to have skills in those fields is super important to stay ahead of the curve and to remain relevant in even the biology and medical fields. So yeah, I guess that's my life summary of my life in tech. So best of luck to everyone here. I implore you all to get into your interests, especially in tech, and hone those skills. And yeah, hope you all stay happy and healthy.
Thanks so much, Yusuf. There's so much to learn from you. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. It's like you were not in tech, but then your career path, everything got shaped because you were related to tech. So how would you say that, how to bring about that balance in life? So if like the medical student is thinking about investing time in tech, so what would you advise?
What would I advise to a medical student or someone who wants medicine about investing the time in tech? I would say 100% do that. If you have an interest, whatever it might be, 100% like invest time in it. I know I have friends who are in medical school, who aren't in medical school, who put time into learning coding, especially Python. And a lot of them are at least have prospects now to get jobs that might not even be related to their undergrad of biology, but they're able to get a job in the tech industry or maybe a biotech kind of thing because they learned coding or because they learned some other like technological skill that can be applied to the field. So yeah, that's, I guess, to maybe get some better words on this, is just if you have an interest, especially in tech, put time aside, or obviously don't forget your obligations, but if you have spare time and you're interested in something, 100% put your time in it. You'll see returns in the future, even if you don't see them now.
Thanks so much, Yusuf. Nice having you join us today.
Thank you.
Up next, yeah.
How did my oral mission go? It was great. Thank you so much. All right, I got it going. Thank you all so much. Have a good one.
Up next, we have our final speaker, Elisa. She's the Business Faculty Coordinator for McMaster Artificial Intelligence Society. It's really exciting, so let's welcome Elisa.
Hi guys. Those were some really awesome intros I'm up against, so I will try my best here. But anyways, my name's Elisa. I am in my third year of the Honors Bachelor of Commerce with Internship program, and I'm pursuing the Business Technology Management Certificate, or the BTM, also with a focus in information systems and marketing. So just to talk to you guys a little bit about the certificate, just in case any of you guys are interested, it basically requires you to take 7 specific commerce info system courses plus 2 software technology engineering courses. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then after you do that, you can pursue to become a certified BTM professional or business technology management professional. And I just thought that was a really great option for me to do during my undergrad to get some more skills in tech and sort of explore my options. I first started focusing or getting interested in tech after taking the info systems management course in my second year. It's the mandatory course that the business students take. And I just really enjoyed learning about the different computer programs and online tools that we were using in class. And I just realized how much the business world relies and benefits from tech. Luckily, I had a really great professor that was able to show us how that happens in so many different ways. And that was just something that really intrigued me and I saw myself getting into. So I started researching different careers in business tech, and something that really stood out to me was data analytics. So in my mind, data analytics is basically collecting, analyzing, and visualizing data through system software, analytical tools, online platforms. I first started learning about Microsoft Access, which is basically like the database management system for the Microsoft suite. And that has been really cool because it's just like a graphical interface, graphical user interface. It's not anything with command lines where I'm typing in commands or anything too technical like that. So I really started enjoying that. I also have been using ERD Plus, which is a data modeling tool. Some other ones include Microsoft SQL Server, which is a relational database management system. And I've been learning about SQL, which is really cool. And it's like a data manipulation language. So I'm able to like pull things from databases. And for some reason that's satisfying to me, I guess. I don't know if anyone can relate, but there's Tableau, which is a data visualization software that I've used recently, which has been really cool in making graphs and other ways to display data. Jump software from SAS I've been using, which is statistical software. That's been really cool too, because you're able to there's not sort of a set thing you need to do. You can sort of learn as you go and change things as you go. And it's just fairly easy to navigate. And I also just wanted to say that I really enjoy learning how to use these because you don't need a super experienced tech background. They all use graphical user interfaces. So if anyone's feeling sort of intimidated by coding and just doesn't want to go too into depth on that side of things, but still get into tech, definitely the BTM is something I recommend with those sort of courses that I'm taking so far. And I just also wanted to say that the internship program is a really great option too. I'm going to be doing my internship year next year. So right now I'm trying to find one. And if you're thinking career-wise, where would this really take me? What kind of jobs should I be thinking about? I'm in my personal situation, I'm looking into analyst positions or data analyst positions. Something I'm also really curious about is marketing analytics. So basically how businesses take how their marketing decisions have played off of each other and deciding how they're going to invest in their marketing in the future. And sort of my step toward tech, I decided that surrounding myself with different opportunities, tech related, and just try to get some more skills and knowledge in tech. Just sort of force myself in there. Like I I applied to be the business faculty coordinator for the Mac AI Society, and that was sort of like awful. Like I barely had any programming or coding knowledge. I have a little bit of Python knowledge, but other than that, they were like not too, I guess, they were just like welcoming with opening arms, and I'm really proud to be a part of their society because of that. So definitely don't be afraid to sort of get involved with different clubs and just see sort of what you like and what you don't like within tech, because I think university is a really great way to sort of distinguish that. And yeah, also just a little bit of an advertisement here. We do have the McMaster Artificial Intelligence Society does have an event tonight that's just like a quick lecture on how AI and machine learning is incorporated into healthcare. So if anyone's interested in that, you can go to our Instagram or our Facebook page, and that's happening tonight as well. But yeah, if anyone has questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, so in the chat box, we got a question. Could you elaborate on BTM, please?
Sure. So again, it's the Business Technology Management Certificate. So if you're in commerce, you probably know that you don't sort of major, you don't have a specialization, I guess. You can have an area of focus, but I wanted to have something where I was a little bit more focused. So I decided to pursue that certificate. Again, it's mostly just commerce information system courses, but there's also software technology engineering courses. Those ones are a little bit more difficult if you don't have a really experienced technical background, but as long as you keep on your work and sort of put your all into it, I'm sure that you'll be able to pull through. Those ones are difficult for me, but all in all, I really recommend it. You can find more information about it online if you just search up Business Technology Management Certificate, McMaster, and you can find all the requirements there.
Okay, so I was just curious to know, have you taken any tech-related courses, or how did you come about related to tech? Like, is it just learning from online or courses, or from mentorship from others? So how did it start?
Yeah, so far, my experience has just been through university courses, but if anyone's interested in AI, we do have tutorials for that can go more into the technical side of things and coding, and they have those tutorials for you. But for me, I didn't want to go too much in depth with that. I wasn't as comfortable with coding. So some of the specific courses I've taken, I have out here. I've taken a couple of comp sci courses, so elementary computing and computer use, comp sci 1TA3. That gave me some really good foundations on word processing, spreadsheet, and database use, basics in hardware and operating systems. I know a lot of people probably have gotten some of that experience, like even in high school, and just learning that throughout university, but this gave me a really good solid foundation for the things that you're sort of able to use throughout university. I've also taken Intro to Programming, which is another comp sci course where I learned the basics of Python. And yeah, it's pretty much how I've learned.
Yeah, that's awesome, Elisa. It's so nice to have you speak about your experiences. I'm sure everyone has a lot to learn from you all. So our panel is now open to any questions from any people, like from anyone. So if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or to drop any question on the chat box. Okay, so for Longji, we have a question. Are you planning to combine your interests in life science or health science in UI UX in the future? If so, how?
Okay, I'm just not going to turn my video on because it's too complicated, but I think that a lot of current people approach side projects in terms of let's make an app. So I think that that's how I started, as in like my first UI UX project was for med hacks, which I didn't even end up going to, but for fun, my friend and I just created an app. And then we kind of started building it in Flutter, which is the, I think it's a Google language. It's a language developed by Google. And from that, one of my friends actually approached me with his third year project that Yusuf kind of briefly mentioned. It's kind of like what he was mentioning, like a mini thesis. And what we're going to do is we're currently working with a neonatal, I guess, group of physicians to help them transfer a product into a mobile form. And essentially how we're approaching it is we're trying to create a modular system. So I'm in charge of designing that modular system, and then the developers, I guess it's mostly harder for the developer to create it. And so that in this way, if you can have discrete modules for each function, then you can convert every single program that they have, which are all built the same, into a series of mobile apps. I guess that's where I am now. And I guess, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so we have a question for Aras right now. So, okay, so you said that you are in the CRO position of McMaster Engineering Society, as well as you have been in the BTech rep position. So how has been the experience in all these leadership positions?
Yeah, for sure. I guess each position is different. The BTech rep position was a representative where I was like elected by like all the BTech department. In that case, my main roles were kind of finding out what students want, and kind of like running those events, or like giving those the word, it's skipping my mind, resources, giving those resources to all the students. When I was BTech rep, what we did is we held a PEO event. PEO stands for Professional Engineer Ontario. As most of you know, is BTech. The BTech program is accredited differently than the engineering program. So in a sense, to get our iron ring at the end of our graduation, we have to do an extra couple of exams. And basically, my main idea with that was just to make that information clear for all BTech students. So I contacted someone who was actually a representative at PEO, and they came to McMaster to do a whole presentation on that. And honestly, it was probably one of the best events we did all year, because we had like 100 people show up, and then we like booked out like a large lecture hall for it. And I also got like the faculty involved, because they were really excited about telling students more about their own program. So in a sense, that role was more in a service of people who elected me, versus the CRO position is more like I'm chair of the meeting. So whenever MES Council has a meeting, I help maintain order within the council. I am responsible for reading and then understanding the rules of the policy manual, the constitution, and then implementing those rules for everyone. And I guess that that position kind of goes hand in hand with the Makerspace thing, because I had to like be the person who maintains like the safety rules in the Makerspace. So that really transferred over nicely to the CRO position, where all I'm doing instead of safety, I'm implementing the rules of talking order or speaking order, just to make the conversation flow better within the council.
Oh yes, that's awesome. Okay, Elisa, so there is a question. When trying out something new, it's always a bit scary, especially for first-year students. So how would you say, like, did you have any struggle in your part, or how would you say that balance comes in? Because it's always like risk-taking, if that's the word.
Yeah, totally. So a great thing for me was that I had some other people who were also doing the certificate, the business technology management certificate. So for them, I really decided to collaborate with them. We talked about the different opportunities with extracurriculars that were coming up that we're seeing on social media. So that's where I sort of found the Mac AI position. And then so once you start applying to those and getting more information from the club and going to more events and things like that, and tutorials that I'm sure you start to learn some new skills and you don't feel as overwhelmed and outside of things. Oh, in terms of like balance with like school and things like that was more of the question, right?
Yeah. So in case like someone is a bit scared to try out new things, what would your suggestion be? How to step out of that zone?
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. Yeah, so definitely surrounding yourself with people who have the same mindset or the same sort of goals. If you don't really know how to go about that, LinkedIn is a great option. Even just searching up keywords about maybe some sort of tech things you're interested in, you'll like McMaster, then you'll get some people from Mac that are focusing in the same sort of things. And then you can just sort of reach out to them. I've done that countless times just to get some more information, because not everything is out there, I guess, to just research and figure it on your own. I think you can really learn from hearing how other people, like even just coming here, I think it's a great way that you guys are coming out and listening to what other people have done, and the success stories I've heard have inspired me in my own way. So yeah, just sort of searching out where you can find the information that's going to help you.
Okay, so we have like another question. So you mentioned that you learned SQL. So how do you plan to use that skill in your career path?
Yeah, so I want to make it clear I'm very much a beginner. The programs I've talked about using, I'm just very like going into them. SQL, I've just started to learn and just started to play with. I don't know if that's something I want to be doing all through my career. I'm more focused in sort of data analytics and more data visualization tools such as Tableau. But yeah, SQL, I would be, I'm intrigued and I think I could like go the full way to learning it, but I'm not quite sure yet.
Okay, thank you so much. That's awesome. Okay, so we have one question for Longji, if she's here.
Hello.
Yeah, so for UI UX, it was like, how do you plan to use it at the moment? Like, are you planning to relate it with health science?
Yeah.
Are you planning to relate it?
I guess like I've thought about it, and I think it's just, it depends on where my priorities lie. I think knowing, I guess having that skill, and I guess now taking more courses that do have it really in like that complement it. So now I have formal education in it, and it's not just, oh, I think this looks nice. It's definitely opened up opportunities to work with professors for theses. And I think that was something that I had thought about doing. But I think at the end of the day, I personally like doing a lot more wet lab chemistry more than UI UX. And I think that's why I have put that as my current priority, and UI UX just a fun hobby job that I do on the side.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any last words for our people who are attending today? Any suggestions, anything that you would like to advise them based on your journey?
I just saw Luke with a question as well in the general chat, and I think I can answer it in terms of, at least I am not someone who is proficient at code. I can read code. Like if you show me like Python, I can understand most of it. But I think you need to just create a list of priorities. I think that is the most important part. And I see Elisa nodding and agreeing with me, but what of the three are the most important? And maybe it means like personal learning code. Maybe it means taking a computer science class. Maybe it means taking one of those classes and using an extracurricular slot to do that. Or maybe it means going to an extracurricular that is more tech related. Like that could be a way to balance it, I think.
Yeah, that sounds good. Elisa, what about you? Any final words?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's really great that everyone's coming out tonight and hearing about everyone's experiences. I think that's just a great way to immerse yourself, is to seek out that information that you're looking for. And yeah, thanks so much for putting this on to the DSC. I almost mess up DSC every time because it's so close to DCS, which is the DeGroote Commerce Society. But yeah, I really enjoyed talking today, so thanks.
And Aras?
Yeah, I guess my last words would be is even if you like feel like that you have like a good bunch of hobbies and you're like, I'm good, like you're getting comfortable. Always think that whenever you're getting comfortable, that's like a good sign that you should start learning something new. And I guess for me, I was really comfortable with doing hardware projects and 3D printing and laser cutting. So I was like, well, better learn UX. A lot of people are doing it. So even like I mentioned at the start, like as of right now, I'm just taking like a course on UX on Coursera. It's taught by like someone from Georgia Tech. I have no clue what to expect. Every kind of like lecture there is something new for me, and I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way. So in that sense, try to find resources online, just learn something constantly because you never know what's going to help you in the future. So yeah, take that and have fun with it.
That's awesome. I should really thank you all for coming here tonight, like today evening, and then sharing all your experiences. This really means a lot to us, and you guys are inspiration for all of us. Thanks for joining, everyone.